On this episode of the Who Is This podcast, brought to you by Double R Communications and Southwest Mortgage Partners, Davis and I had an awesome conversation with Ryan Conrad. Ryan is the current principal of Thatcher High School. He has been for about 6 years. He tells us a little bit about how he got to where he is today, his background, and some of the challenges that come with his job. You can tell from talking to him that he's very passionate about what he does. He loves Thatcher High School, and he truly bleeds green. So we had a great time talking to Ryan, and we appreciate him taking the time to come on the podcast. We hope you enjoy it. Good then. We're all systems are a go.
Sweet.
So, Ryan Conrad, how's it going, man?
Fantastic. Christmas break.
Yeah, did you have a good Christmas?
We did really, really well. It's a little bit different when you have adult and older kids. You lose some of the magic of having little kids around. But
how old is your youngest now?
Our youngest is 16.
Okay.
So
and is he the one that works at the golf course?
No, that was Porter, who just left for his church mission.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Holston is 16. He's a sophomore at Thatcher High.
Okay. Nice.
So
and how old's your oldest?
Oldest just turned 23.
Any grandkids yet?
No grandkids. So we're hopeful to get the magic of Christmas back by having some little grandkids running around. So but no, it's great to be with family and to just have some time off. It's good.
Yeah.
And here we have you working, representing the school.
Well, I can't believe you guys think I'm interesting enough to bring in on the podcast. I really enjoy it. I listen to the podcast quite a bit. If I'm just playing golf by myself, I'll put in the earbuds and listen to the podcast. And there are some amazing people in our community, or that have been raised in our community and now are doing great things. So I think what you guys are doing is really, really cool. And I learn a lot about people, learn a lot about our community from what you guys are doing with this.
That's been like the most surprising thing to me is like what we have learned about the people that we thought we knew really well. You know, we even had my brother on who told us things that I had no idea, so
I'm still trying to convince mine to come on.
Oh, he would be an amazing guest.
Trey would be, so would Jacob too, but Jacob lives out of town, so it'd be harder to do it with him, but Trey would be an awesome conversation.
Yeah, he would.
So.
Do I need to text him?
Do it, dude.
Trey, I want to have you on my podcast.
Yeah. No, so the other day I was golfing with, was it just Trey and my dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was golfing with Trey and my dad, and Ryan was a single behind us, and he's like, I got your podcast on right now. So you're one of our few avid listeners, I would say. Yeah.
Well, people are missing out. They need to get on and listen. I was listening to the podcast with Trevor White, and what an amazing guy. I had the opportunity to work with him as a coach when he was in high school, and just a really, really neat kid that's really grown into a really neat guy. Mm-hmm. And someone that's doing some amazing things. And I really enjoyed that podcast a lot.
That was for me one of the most surprising ones, because I didn't know Trevor that well. He and my wife were friends in high school, but he was so much more well-spoken and articulate than I expected, that it was pretty shocking. And
I think that's just because I haven't talked to Trevor since high school,
right?
So you have these memories of people. Not that he was wasn't articulate. I just didn't even know him hardly in high school. I guess that's not true. He played on my City League basketball team probably about 8 years ago, and that guy's an athlete.
Oh, yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete.
He is an athlete. So that's something that I always think about is, what's it like as being in education, a teacher or a principal? You're around all these kids. So how long have you been teaching it at Thatcher now?
So this is my 10th year overall as a full-time employee at Thatcher. I taught for 4 years and then left for a position in another district for 2 years. And then this is year 6 as the principal. Mm-hmm. But prior to that, while I was working for EAC with the Gear Up program, I worked primarily at Fort Thomas, Pima, and Clifton high schools until Clifton decided to basically disband their district and were absorbed by Morenci. So during those times, I was a coach at Thatcher, and then I coached for a couple of years while I was at EA too. But as a full-time employee, this is year 10.
Yeah. I've always it's an interesting dynamic, I think, especially in a small town that, you knew all these kids as kids, right? But you've been there for so long now. They're adults and in the community now. I mean, is that weird at all? That type of having a relationship as a kid, and then potentially having a relationship with them just as a member of the community later on in life.
It's always really, really interesting, but I think that is really, maybe the draw of being in education. We're partnering with parents to produce high functioning adults. So, if your role is as a teacher, you're hoping that you're giving them a foundation, along with their parents to, whether they enroll in college, they enlist in the military, or go and employ, in our community or in another community, they have the skills that they need to do that. But, one of the things, education's kind of been described sometimes as a rich life of poverty. And one of the things that I think when I was young, having parents that are both educators, I remember being a kid, and you'd have grown men come up to my dad, who was a teacher and a coach, an educator, for over 50 years, and he would, we'd be eating in a restaurant as a family, sometimes out of state, in the most random places, and some grown man would come up, "Coach, is that you?" And just, hug Don and be like, "Coach, you changed my life. You took a chance on you brought me in, you gave me a scholarship. This is my wife, this is my kids. This is my coach right here." And, when I was young, I'm like, wow, that is, it never got old. And, now being in this for 25 years, sometimes I have that moment. And, I'm not saying that I love to go into Walmart, because but there are times, when I'm in there and I'll have a former student that will come up, and they don't necessarily see me put their head down and go the other way. They'll come up and they'll be like, "Hey, Mr. Conrad, this is my wife, this is my kids." And I'm like, wow, I've been in it long enough where I'm starting to have those moments too, where, they're joyful reunions, even though they're kind of small and maybe insignificant to somebody else. But to me, I walk away like, wow, look at what this kid has gone and done. They're great moms, they're great dads, they're great spouses. And, seeing what people are doing in our community and in other communities, there's some amazing people that have come out of the Gila Valley. That are doing, amazing things. And, to just be a small piece of that process, is really rewarding. It's really kind of cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's kind of been one of the recurring themes of this podcast is what the Gila Valley has produced in terms of just cool, good people, people, and not just for the Gila Valley, but everywhere. I think it's been it's a special place, I think.
100%. I agree. So, share with us your background, how, as much as you want to. That's what we talked about a little bit, but that's what we really enjoy, is just getting to know people. So what made you want to get into education? And, were you always wanting to be a principal? Was it, is that always kind of what your plan was? Or do you mind sharing us kind of how all that happened?
Well, education has kind of been the family business. With the dad that was a college coach, we got here to the Gila Valley from Utah. My dad, he was a great small college football player. He was an All-American at Southern Utah in the early 70s. He became a head coach in the Salt Lake area at 23. Oh, wow. Took a team that was winless his first year, and took them heartbeat away from a state championship. And then he actually went to his alma mater, Southern Utah, and became the defensive coordinator and then the head coach there in the mid 80s. And they had some changes in the presidency, the leadership there, which led him to, look for another position. And Lad Molino took a chance on him at EAC. So we moved here to Thatcher when I was 12 years old. And in the 80s, this was a pretty remote place. It was kind of a tough place to move into. And, as a 12-year-old, but we got acclimated pretty quick. I played at Thatcher High School football and baseball. I wasn't very good, but I tried hard and enjoyed it. And then I thought, while my dad was still coaching at EAC, that I would just play football there and kind of move on. But some circumstances took place in my life and decided to serve a church mission. Spent 2 years in Philadelphia that really changed the trajectory of my life. Gave me a skill set that I don't think maybe I would have had otherwise in regards to working with people, just a myriad of things. And got home right around the time that I got home from my service, EAC announced that they were going to bring back baseball. So I thought, let's try that. So spent the next year kind of preparing for that, and went out the first year that they brought it back, and my career was tragically cut short by not being good enough. So kind of had to recalibrate, try to figure out some things, and decided that I wanted to play football, and went over to Western New Mexico in January, and just kind of started to realize real quick that this is kind of passing me by.
Where's Western New Mexico?
In
at?
Silver City.
Okay.
So went over there and, just realized like it's probably time to start focusing on school and just being okay with how things are going to end here. And at that point, my parents, they always wanted me to be a lawyer. They're like, hey, you need to go to law school. But I'll tell you, that year that I was prepping to play baseball at EA, I helped my dad coach in 1997, and we had an amazing experience. We didn't win a state title, but we won the region or the section championship, and I kind of fell in love with the process. And so I thought, okay, if we could get these kids from here where we started and where we finished, how cool would that be in a classroom to take a kid, that doesn't even, see their potential and what they could do and just be part of the process. So I was kind of in at that point, much to my parents' dismay. I decided that I was going to be an education major, and, we're going to go that direction.
So 97, your dad coached at Thatcher?
He did.
Was that his first year?
So when he first got to Thatcher, he left EAC while I was actually serving on my mission. And I think it was the fall of 95. When he first started, he was helping with the football program.
Because was it Hughes?
It was Ed Shamey first.
Okay.
And then when Coach Shamey passed away, Coach Hughes came in for a couple of years. And so my dad was coaching football with Coach Hughes.
Gotcha.
And then he was the head baseball coach. And he coached Trey.
Yeah.
He had some really good teams. He had the Johnson brothers, the Romney brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They had some epic battles with Wilcox. I think we finished runner-up to them one year, and then we lost a close game to Bisbee the next year for it. So, yeah, baseball in the 90s and early 2000s was pretty tough in this part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually so he coached football, of course. When Coach Hughes left, he won back-to-back titles at Thatcher and won another one in 2006. Was that when you were playing?
No, it wasn't. I was a sophomore that year.
On that team?
Yeah. So
yeah.
I was on varsity, but didn't do it. I mean, I was the scrub.
So yeah, then he ended up moving over to from baseball to golf, and So yeah, I mean, it just kind of that was kind of the trajectory into education, and so I became a social studies teacher. In fact, my first job was at Superior High School, and the new superintendent at Pima that's coming on board, Steve Estatico, he hired me for my first job.
Oh, really?
At Superior, yeah. So I taught English there and was the head baseball coach, and was an assistant football coach at Superior. And we started our family, and I took a job at Mesquite High School in Gilbert, and taught there for 3 or 4 years.
How big of a school is that?
At the time, it was really big, almost 3,000 students.
Wow.
And now it's kind of interesting due to, other public schools that have opened in that part of Gilbert, because of charter schools and other, things. They're down to about, I want to say like 1,400 students.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's they're a 4A school now, where we were real big when I was there. So I taught social studies, coached football and baseball at Mesquite High, and then when we added our second son, Jackson, kind of life throws a little bit of a curveball, and we were putting 2 kids in daycare. My wife was working at the time as well, and she's like, I just want to stay home with these little kids, so figure it out. so we ended up getting a job in ed tech as a sales rep for Pearson Education. So I was working with alternative education software, credit recovery, alt school type thing, and did that for Pearson, which is a super big ed tech textbook.
Would you just travel around and visit different schools and stuff?
We had an office in the valley, in the East Valley, and so I worked out of that office, but eventually, I did become a rep with my own territory, and then I left to another startup company and did that for a year, and then the recession hit, and we'd added another kids. So we had 3 under the age of 5, and it was kind of funny. I joke with my wife about this. I got out of the classroom and out of education for my family, but when I really started to get into it and the travel started, and it was really neat because I got to see schools and districts throughout the country, multiple states, all over. But, then it got to the point where, you're leaving on Sunday night or Monday morning and getting back Thursday or Friday. She's like, look, if I'm going to raise these little kids by myself, I might just do it by myself. And so it's kind of like, you got out of the classroom for your family, but then got back in to the system for the family as well. So when the recession hit, I was very, very fortunate to get a position with Eastern Arizona College with the Gear Up grant, which has just ended now. It's a college and career readiness grant for underserved communities, and it's a federally funded grant, and EAC got that grant and set it up, in places like Fort Thomas, San Carlos, Globe, Miami. We were up in Chinle, and then of course, locally Clifton, Pima, Fort Thomas is where I worked out of. So I was able to do that for 6 years, and I'll tell you, that's probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my career in education. Was, you have a group of kids for 6 years and you just follow their progress, and you're kind of an additional counselor support for those students and for the staffs at that school, and it was an awesome experience.
So would it start at like 7th grade?
Seventh grade.
Okay.
Yeah. So we started in 7th grade with the kids in Fort Thomas and Clifton, and then Pima jumped on the next year with us. And then the second generation, Safford, jumped on board. They got in at Snowflake. But after that first 6-year cycle is when, just the uncertainties, when I actually took the teaching position at Thatcher.
Because the grant's not always going to be there. Yeah,
it was a great opportunity. Really, really grateful to 2 guys that really brought me in and mentored me. Eldon Woodall, who'd been at Fort Thomas for a long time as their business manager, and then he was the director of grants at EAC. He just, recently passed away, but what a great guy. And then Carter McEwen, who's a legend out at Fort Thomas. He was the director of the program, and those guys, they brought me in, allowed me to bring my family back, to the Gila Valley and get set up here. I mean, I'll be forever grateful to them. For their, taking a chance on me, and then, their mentorship and leadership and the things that they taught me. Just invaluable. Great guys.
That's awesome. And so what year, when you left while the grant was still active, but you weren't certain how much longer it was going to be active, or how did that all go? Tell us about
I started in January of 2009 with Gear Up, and then it ended in 2014. So it was kind of a limbo situation. They'd applied for a new grant, but they weren't sure. And I'll never forget. I mean, I was on the practice field at Thatcher High School, and I get a call from Carter McEwen. He's like, "Hey, we just got our grant refunded. do you want to come back?
After you'd already
yeah,
accepted
I'm, like,
it.
I'm under contract here.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I've been incredibly blessed that that so many people, you know, in that situation where, you know, we were kind of in limbo, thought we might have to move our family. You know, I get a call from Carol McAtee at Thatcher High School, like, hey, you know, I might have a position. Would you be interested in interviewing? Like, oh, yes. And, you know, what a tremendous leader she was, and just, you know, has had a huge impact on my life. She was my teacher. She put up with me in the classroom, and, you know, she was just a phenomenal principal to work for. And I love her for forever. I don't know how she's put up with me, but she really is just, you know, stamped my heart with the love that she had for our staff at Thatcher and for the kids and for the school. Truly, truly an amazing educator and an amazing lady. So
Yeah.
I've been real lucky.
I don't know of many people that would have much bad to say about Carol McAtee. She's a great person.
She's the best.
Yeah, she was a vice principal when we were in school. I have such a bad memory, dude. But I know she was there. Yeah, she was the vice principal, and
Mr. Nelson was the principal.
Was the principal. Yeah.
She was over like the student body presidency when I was in student body, and so I got to work really closely with her, and it was a lot. But before, I was always just terrified of her. And then I got to work with her and realize how awesome she is.
Oh, she's amazing.
She does a lot of work that people don't really realize, or did a lot of work. And
well, if you've ever come to a Thatcher homecoming,
exactly,
her fingerprints are all over
everywhere.
that.
Yep.
And you know, that's a you know, a big piece of her legacy. Of taking that and making that for the students, the community, and the alumni that come back. It's you know, we've had other schools come and experience that and study what we do, and, you know, they're trying to capture that for their school. And again, that was all driven by Carol. She's amazing.
Yeah. So were you the next principal after her?
No, I actually I applied for the position, but they went with another candidate, and that's when I took a position. Was very fortunate again to be able to go to Pima Junior High School, and I served as the principal there for 2 years, and that was an absolutely amazing experience. It was my first admin position, but I'd already worked in Pima, so I knew a lot of the staff. I knew a lot of you know, the families. I kind of knew how the school worked, even though I'd been an employee of EAC. So yeah, it was new, but it really wasn't new. But there was a lot to learn. Junior high, that's wild. I think kids learn their core academics, their base, you know, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s in elementary school, and then they learn their higher level, the biology, the algebra, you know, those things in high school. But man, in junior high, let's just try not to have an academic fall off, and let's learn to be a decent human. It's wild time, but I absolutely love the staff at Pima Junior High School, including your mom, Patty.
Shout out, Patty.
Yeah, she's an amazing educator. And then the kids, it was so neat because it was just 2 grades. I'll never forget my first quarter there. We got, you know, to October, and I realized, like, I know every kid's name. And, you know, I can see them, you know, and there's a couple of them, they look alike.
And about how many, I mean,
probably about 170, maybe 180. But I was like, okay, I know every kid's name.
That's awesome.
And, you know, you work at it and you do those things, but it was just so much more, it just so much smaller than anything that I'd ever been a part of. And it was fun. And I really, really enjoyed my time there. So, yeah, I was able to be the principal there for 2 years.
I know this opinion is going to be obviously biased, but I think that junior high teachers should be paid double all the other teachers.
That's a tough
You have to
age,
be
dude.
super thick-skinned and hard-nosed to be a junior high teacher.
Listen,
man.
I love
It's a
my
special
kids.
calling.
I love my kids, but Kyson, love the kid. He's getting to that age where I'm like, if you weren't my son, there's things that you do that would just drive me absolutely crazy.
And your kid is a good kid.
Yeah, and he's a great kid. Yeah, that's a good point too.
There are some kids that are fearless and have no respect for authority, and they learn that in junior high.
Yeah.
And it is. My mom takes a group every other year to Washington D.C. and the first year she went, I went with them, and I was in college at the time, and I didn't have anything to do, and I'm like, I'll go. So I went with them, and I was thinking, I was the chaperone, and I was thinking, you know, I'm an older guy, they'll respect me. No, dude, it was. But for my mom, I don't know how she trained them or whatever, but she had them like
lined out.
Yeah,
she runs a tight ship.
She runs that's a great way of putting it. Yeah,
Mom's
she
a
runs
little
a tight
intimidating.
ship. She is, yeah. And I think like you've got to have that factor to be a junior high teacher.
Yeah, but she has a huge heart too. Like
Yeah.
she runs, the Knowledge Bowl.
Yeah.
She runs the student council. She was teaching them how to sew. We'd bring all these baskets of cloth, and she just, she has a huge heart for those kids.
Yeah.
But she's no nonsense.
I think that's one thing that has kept her there is like, I think there is a part of her that, because she could have retired a long time ago, and there's a part of her that's like, what are they going to do without me, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's what keeps her going. So.
Well, she's amazing. It was a great experience. Yeah. But it was one of those things where, for me, my kids were coming of age, where they were getting into their high school years. And, even though you're only 5 miles away, I started to see like I'm missing more and more of my own kids' things, while I'm working with, the kids at my school. And so when the opportunity...
Also, it's kind of a rival school a little
bit. Yeah.
And I'm just curious, was there... so your kids were still going to Thatcher while you were going to... Was there any, like, not pushback, but, like, did people, like... Well, why isn't the principal kid coming to Pima? Like, did people question that at all?
Yeah, there were some people that questioned that, and that's a fair question.
Yeah.
But for me, I've always really tried to let my kids have a lot of autonomy. And so the question was like, if you guys want to come over, but also at that time, Pima was really, really growing and expanding. The school was pretty full. Mm-hmm. And so, my kids kind of had their own life and their friend groups and their setup and the things that they were doing with their extracurriculars. But also, there were so many people. There were people on a waiting list to go to Pima Junior High. Mm-hmm. I just didn't really think that it would be fair to bring in my kids, because I went there and jump over someone that's gone through the process of filling out their open enrollment paperwork.
Yeah.
So the decision was just made that they were going to stay. Now, when I did come back to Thatcher High School, I did sit all of my kids down and say, like, hey, are you going to be okay with this? Mm-hmm. And, I did let all of the boys kind of weigh in, because, sometimes when your dad's the principal, you didn't choose this life, it chose you. And,
right.
They do have to toe the line. I mean, I have behind my desk, there's a whole stack of pink slips referrals that are my own kids. So they know that they need to toe the line.
Well, they're going to be looked at closer. They're going to be, it's kind of like, the bishop's son or the bishop's daughter, everyone looks at them a little closer, and they have a little bit of a, maybe higher expectation, which isn't fair. It's not fair for them.
No, it's not. It's not. And, there have been some conflicts and some things that, my kids have gotten the short end of the stick. Mm-hmm. And it has been, kind of tough, but that's the job when you live in the small town. There's so many more things that are positive that outweigh, some of the things that are a little bit hard sometimes. But, and they've made it through. No one's died having their dad as the principal. It's, they've all had really, really good friends. They've all gotten along really, really well at school. So. But yeah, it's a dynamic for sure.
Yeah. My wife's dad is the superintendent at Duncan Schools. And I can never remember at what point he was, because he was a principal at one point and then turned into the superintendent. But I know that, my wife and her younger siblings, people always thought they were getting favor, like especially on because he coached as well. And not everyone, but there's always people in a small community that look at things unfairly, and it's a challenge. I know it was a challenge for them. You good on time or?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, because it's, regardless, you're not ever going to make everybody happy, and sometimes people are, whether it's fair or not, they're going to think that you're getting special treatment simply because of who your dad is.
Yeah, and again, I mean, that's it's a dynamic that I don't know if it will ever go away.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's an easy mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, our kids, and it's hard too, because they have a mom and she's amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
she's a very, very loving mom, and dad's like, no, it's got to be this way. So
Yeah.
there's that dynamic too.
Yeah.
On that note, the only B I ever got at EAC was when my dad taught the EMT class as a 9-credit class, and I thought for sure he'll give me some slack. Nope, my only B, and it was a 9-credit class.
Oh.
Killed my GPA. Thanks, Dad.
Hilarious. I'm sure you deserved it.
Yeah, I did.
Right on. So how many years you been a principal now?
So this will be finishing up year 8.
Finishing year 8.
As a school administrator.
You've been with Thatcher for 8 years?
No, 2 years at Pima.
2 at Pima. Okay,
and then
6 at Thatcher.
6. Yeah, this will be year 6.
Gotcha. So you've been in, you've been in administration, you've been a teacher, and you've even been in education sales. You said so you've seen a lot of different sides of the education system. What have you enjoyed the most?
What I've enjoyed the most is the kids. Just seeing kids, whether it's coaching, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's in my current position, seeing kids accomplish things that they might not even believe that they could do, prior, and just seeing them grow and progress and make it. I've had kids that my first impression, like, this kid's not going to make it here, and then they do, and they just grab a hold of what's being provided for them, and I've seen it every place that I've been, and it is the most rewarding thing to be a part of that process. And it's so unbelievably cool. A kid that on paper has no business being successful, and they are, and they make it, and they go on and accomplish things that they didn't even, they wouldn't even have fathomed that they could do, and they're doing it. Seeing the world, pursuing their dreams and their passions. It's super cool.
That's awesome.
On the other hand, what is your least favorite, most challenging, I guess? Oh, maybe those don't have to be the same thing, right? What's your least favorite thing? And then the most challenging thing about being a principal?
I think that the hardest thing is when a kid doesn't make it, and they won't buy into what we're doing, and as much as we want our schools, whether it's the time at Pima Junior High or at Thatcher High School, as much as we want our school to be for every student, we're going to have some kids that they're not going to respond to what we're doing, the culture, the expectation, and when we have to part company and move on from students, that's the hardest thing, because we want our school to be for everybody, but also we're never ever going to move away from the belief that teachers are going to teach and students are going to learn. So at Thatcher High, one of the things that we focused on over the years that I've been there is what do we believe. And, the kids see it every day when they walk in. And it's basically 4 things that we feel will translate into no matter what they do, whether they enroll, enlist, employ, whatever they choose to do. But number 1, be on time. And Coach Conrad would say it doesn't take talent to hustle. We run a bell schedule, be on time. Because when you go into the workplace, if you're not on time, eventually you're going to lose an opportunity. And we don't ever want a student to have a false sense of security or hope that if you don't show up on time, you're not going to lose that opportunity, whether it's a job, a scholarship, your role maybe on an extracurricular or intercollegiate team. If you don't show up, they might talk to you a couple of times, put you on some type of plan, and then they're going to move on from you. And so be on time. The second is be prepared to work and learn. Students, when they come to school, you're there to be a student. That's your job. You're there to complete your assignments, to bring your supplies. You're there to work and learn, not to be disruptive, not to be involved in, things that are unhealthy, not to just come and go as you please. You're there to work and learn. So that's the second thing we believe in. And then the third is we believe in giving our best effort. At Thatcher High School, your best effort will always be enough. If a kid, that really struggles in, maybe a subject or an area, they're working as hard as they can. They're not making an A or a B, but they're doing it. We're going to celebrate that effort. We're going to celebrate that success because, schools, there's some kids that have to work as hard to get a C as another kid has to work to get an A or a high B. But again, just keep showing up, keep working, give your best effort. And we expect that, your best effort every day. And, effort is between you and you. I mean, only we can determine how much effort we're willing to give. And I think, kids have had to show a lot of grit and resilience and perseverance, especially since COVID. And, these kids, a lot of them, they're running some tough races that nobody knows about. And, you're not always going to have your A game every day in high school. And the same goes for the teachers as well. Everybody has to check something at the door every day when they walk through the door and just give what they have. And some days, everything, is great. Your fit's good, your hair is going good, you feel good. And other days, it's all you can to just drag, through the door and give what you have. And so, we expect you to give your best effort, though. And then the last is to treat everyone with kindness or mutual respect. And that's an expectation that everyone can meet. In high school, not everyone's going to be best friends, but nobody needs to go out of their way to create hardship for anyone in our learning community. And, we work hard to address that. And, so those are the four things that we believe at our school will translate into no matter what a kid wants to do.
Do you have those written out?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got them. Above the doors when they walk in to the beginning of the school. And I'm sure kids roll their eyes every time I talk about it because we hammer what we believe. Mm-hmm. And, we've kind of built an initiative over the years. It started in Pima with, there's no original ideas in education. Mm-hmm. We're borrowing, implementing, from all kinds of things. And, as we as administrators, we go to conferences, professional development. We've had, some things that have been real profound for me. I went to a conference, Arizona Administrators Conference, and listened to a keynote speaker, a guy named Steve Costantino, and he's up there talking about parent involvement, and he asked two questions. And, it really, I went from, picking at a piece of dry chicken to whoa, what's this guy saying? He asked two questions. What do you want? And then what are you willing to do to get it? And that really changed my whole approach to a lot of things. Because sometimes you know exactly what you want. And then sometimes you really don't know what you want. So you got to spend some time okay, in this situation here, what do we want? And then when you know that, what are you willing to do to get it? And my own kids, they roll their eyes all the time oh, here he goes. But it's true. Anything that we want in life, we need to identify what it is. And then when we know what it is, what are you willing to do to get that? And so, those are some things that we focus on. And then the other piece that we've built over the last 5 years at Thatcher and that we built in Pima as a staff was an incentive-based initiative. So I don't know if you remember was it 2017 when the Giants beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl and mm-hmm. wrecked their undefeated season? Mm-hmm. There was a guy that was a teacher in Union City, New Jersey, right there by the Meadowlands. and he teaches at this inner city school. His name's Gian Paul Gonzalez. He goes and he speaks to organizations all over the country now, but he talked about this concept of being all in.
Yeah.
Kind of like the all in of, like, if you're playing poker and you got a good hand and you believe in yourself, you're pushing all in.
And there's no going back.
There's no going back. And so he actually was asked by the team chaplain of the New York Giants to come in and speak to them when they were on like a losing streak. And he came in as a teacher, and he gave them each a poker chip. And I brought a couple of chips for you guys. They're in the truck. I'll give them to you. But he gave each guy and said, write down what your all in is. And he spoke to the Giants. This social studies teacher from Union City, New Jersey, and he thought he completely bombed. Like, he couldn't believe that he was asked to come in and do this, and the Giants never lost another game. I mean, Antrell Roll, who used to play for the Cardinals, he had it tattooed across his breastplate, all in.
That's cool.
And they ended up wrecking the Patriots. It's Tom Brady's perfect season. But this concept of all in, we've built on that. In Pima, we called it the Bring It Initiative. And we actually got Dr. Deb Chapman, who hustles kindness to everyone in the Valley. It started with our kids at Pima Junior High were great to the adults. They were horrible to each other. It's like, we got a culture problem here. So I had Dr. Deb come in and talk about how she hustles kindness around the Valley. She brings in donuts, cookies, for different organizations, and
She
just
brought
hustles
them to
people.
us once that I
Yeah,
love
she's
this.
amazing. And the way that she loves. So I had her come and speak to our student body at Pima. She brought every kid a Hustle Kindness T-shirt. And it sparked this whole thing for me of, how do we incentivize kids that are giving effort and are treating people with kindness or mutual respect? And so we started this initiative at Pima. And then when I came to Thatcher, we didn't do it the first year, because I thought it was like, maybe it's too juvenile for high school kids. But after the first year at Thatcher, just trying to assess and see and kind of, feel my way along, I went to my staff and said, hey, we did this at Pima. What do you think about doing this here? And the incentives, the things that we provide for kids, were all provided by local businesses. We had people, throughout the community that would give us a $250 donation so we could provide incentives. And when I brought that to the staff, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. And so it's evolved into the All In initiative at Thatcher High School. And it's turned into just a complete culture boost, because the way it works is a teacher will give a kid a chip, a slip, and they basically nominate them for effort or an act of kindness. They're caught being good, and they come in and they put it into a tumbler in the office, and then every Thursday we pull prizes. And then when we come back in January, we do big prizes. So we're talking AirPods. We do big prizes to kick off the second semester. And, so it's gone from, just local businesses to the United Way of Graham and Greene. The county have supported this for the last 3 or 4 years now. They've given us a grant to be able to provide the incentives to students. And, we get feedback from our teachers every year, from our student council leadership, of what direction we want to go with this. And I think it's been amazing for our learning community, because it lets the kids know that the community, our businesses, our families here are supporting them. They're providing these incentives for them for being kind, treating people with respect, and giving effort in the classroom. And it's really been a neat thing to be a part of. And with that, with the incentive, we've also created an All-In Student of the Year that receives a cash scholarship. We also have another award that we call our Relentless Award for a student that is a skateboarder. We buy a skateboard from a company called Relentless Skateboards that's founded by a principal named Hamish Brewer that is a really cool guy. You should go and check out. If you check him out on YouTube, he's from New Zealand. He's doing some amazing things. He calls himself an educational disruptor, and like, you know, the things that he does in his processes. So we try to, you know, pick out a kid that's a skateboarder that's, you know, given a lot of effort, that's, you know, being a good kid, and we get him a skateboard every May as well.
That's
as part of the All In. So it's been really, really cool to be a member of a staff at Thatcher High School that really wants to recognize kids for trying. And we also do an All-In Teacher of the Quarter, where the students nominate a teacher, and we give the teacher, they get a plaque, a tumbler, and then they get, you know, kind of like all the attaboys and attagirls that are the teachers. Like,
that's
bruh,
cool too.
You're cool. You know?
Yeah.
Some of the things that the kids say about their teachers is really, really neat.
Yeah.
Like,
Is there a way for businesses to get involved in stuff like this?
Absolutely. Any business
I'm
that
sure
wants
that's
to partner
something
with
we'd
us.
be interested in.
And again, you guys have come in and worked with our staff and with our kids at Thatcher High School, with Mrs. Medina's financial math. You've come in. You guys have always been great supporters. But yeah, we will partner with any business that wants to be involved. You know, the one nice thing with the funding from the United Way is it's allowed us to do that, because I know businesses get hit hard, especially with back to school or around Christmas time. So the partnership with United Way, Denise, Amanda, they have been great in supporting initiatives at Thatcher High School. Not only the All In initiative, but our On to College, where we're doing ACT prep, and we're incentivizing kids that score well on the ACT. That initiative's funded by United Way. Our Eagle Challenge, our fitness challenge that we do in May, has been funded by the United Way of Graham and Greenlee County. So they're doing amazing things for Thatcher High School and supporting initiatives that, you know, that really, really boost our learning community. But yeah, any business that wants to participate, AgWest has given us a grant before for the All In initiative. We got one from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona this year for it. But yeah, any business, you know, some of the ones that have just been great, Dr. Deb, been with us in the beginning on that, Desert Cross, Eric Blair at Kainoa's, phenomenal. Eagles Roost, Scotty Howard, they do meals with us for the All In, where if a student draws on a Thursday, they can draw a meal. And then we also have one with Speedy Eagle. But yeah, any restaurant, you know, I don't want to, you know, undercut those guys.
So you're saying, like, those are some of the prizes that you do. A restaurant will offer.
They'll
free
do
meals.
a meal.
Oh,
well,
cool.
yeah. So they do a meal.
What could a mortgage company do?
Cash.
No, I mean, but again, yeah, we've had just tremendous support.
That's
of
awesome.
Getting this off the ground, and there's so many businesses that, you know, Double R has always been a great partner with us. Reed has been, you know, phenomenal over the years. But yeah, none of this really, where we've taken it to, would be possible without the help of the United Way of Graham and Greenlee County. They do so many amazing things for Thatcher High School, and we're grateful for their support.
That's awesome. One thing I wanted to talk about, and you said you talked to Matt and said, so can you tell us a little bit about what happened at Thatcher High School a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. So, and again, you know, a lot of it's, you know, now in an official police report that's, you know, public record. But yeah, we did have a situation in early December where we received a report that there was a student on campus in possession of a weapon, specifically a handgun. And when that report came in, you know, you work based off the information that you have. And one thing that I'll say,
that's got to be the scariest thing.
Yeah.
Like as far as like things that you worry about, at least as a parent, like that's pretty high up there on that list.
Absolutely. And one thing, you know, under the leadership of Mr. Peterson, our superintendent at Thatcher Unified School District, we've done more for emergency preparedness. You know, not just, I mean, we've done more in this district than any district that I've ever been in. And that's including Gilbert Public Schools. Now, there's been some things over the last 5 to 10 years that have really, really changed in our approach in education and school safety. But, you know, we train, We have apps, we have things, that we have in place. We also have Mr. Tony Vincent, who's the assistant principal at Thatcher Elementary School, but also our safety coordinator for the district. We're doing more to prepare for something like this. But I think, it's kind of like buying insurance. You have it and you hope you never ever have to use it. And so, when we have a situation where reports made like that, we were very, very fortunate to have a school resource officer. Officer Jimmy Wisman from Thatcher PD is our school resource officer. And, when the report comes in, we were very, very fortunate. Within a matter of minutes, we had the situation assessed and neutralized with very, very minimal losses to learning. Now again, you work off the information that you have in those situations, and if some of the variables are different, it ends up looking very, very different. But when the situation occurs, you go based off the information that you have. The response from Thatcher PD and Officer Wisman, within a matter of minutes, and we're very, very fortunate, in that situation that it turned out the way that it did.
Can you? Sorry to interrupt you. Can you give us what went down from your point of view, like how it happened? Are you able to?
Yeah, and again, it's
getting yourself in trouble.
It's all in the police report. It's been reported out, but basically we received a report in the office that there was a student in possession of a gun.
How did that report come in?
It came in from students.
Okay.
So once those students came in and reported it, we worked to identify, where the student was, and we were able to, it was, around the time of a passing period. So classes were just breaking, our afternoon classes. And so we were able to, within, minutes, isolate the student. The student was not in the classroom, was, kind of in our commons area, and we're able to identify the student and learn that the weapon was in fact in the student's backpack. It was a handgun, but it was not loaded. And so again, once police get there, they take over the incident command, and they run it from there. And again, had Officer Wisman not been there, it might have looked really, really different. But he was. We got the report, and things just kind of worked out that. But yeah, it is hard because there's an active investigation. You have federal privacy education, FERPA, which is similar to HIPAA in the medical field, and then you have a student with due process and all those things. So again, information. Everybody wants it because again, we want to keep our kids safe. And of course, that's the paramount concern. But we also have to make sure that all of those other things are followed as well. So, we're very, very fortunate that TPD, Officer Wisman, they were able to identify and neutralize that situation really within a matter of minutes. So. I hope we never ever have to deal with something like that again. But if we do, I'm grateful for the training that we're receiving from the support from Graham County supervisors. We have an app called Raptor that basically allows us to communicate with our staff. It allows another app called Mutual Link to be engaged that alerts law enforcement, so communication can take place real time, as needed. So those things are in place, and then I'm really, really grateful for the leadership of Mr. Peterson in our district and the efforts of Mr. Vincent. We have response teams at every school in our district. We meet regularly. We review things. We drill, hold shelter in place, we drill lockdown, we drill evacuate the building, all of the things to be prepared, if we need it.
And so in this instance, none of those happened. Like, you guys didn't have to lock down. You didn't have to do a shelter. Like, it sounds, from what I read online, on Facebook, it sounds like probably most of the kids didn't even know anything was happening.
That's
they
what
kind
I've
of
heard. Everything
took care
was
of it
super
without
calm, and it was boom, boom.
And again, if there's some variables that are out of place, it could have looked very, very different, as far as lockdown, as far as all the different things. But with the information that we had, with just the swift, really tactical response of Officer Wisman and TPD, really, really fortunate to be able to neutralize that. And yes, I hope we never have to deal with that again. But I'm grateful for the training, because if we do have a situation, in one of our schools in Thatcher, we have some training to fall back on and to go. But yeah, when the adrenaline wears off later on, it's kind of like, wow.
Yeah. I like how you put that of, you have the training in case you need it, but hopefully you never have to.
Hopefully we never, ever have to. And again, earlier in my career, it's something that you would never, ever think of, someone coming to school with a weapon, in this case, or someone coming to a school with bad intentions, which, in this case, and you can see from the police report, from the investigation, the student didn't have bad intentions, just brought a weapon in their backpack to school. So, but again, that's the world that we're living in education now. And just really, really grateful for our leadership in our district, and grateful for the support of Chief Orr, Glenn Orr at Thatcher Police Department, and then Officer Wisman, who is very, very well trained in, school safety and response.
And if we can't go into this much detail, tell me, it's fine. But I'm just curious, when you say like neutralize, did he basically just go and kind of talk to the kid, grab the backpack from him, or what did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the report, but yeah, basically the student was separated from the backpack, and then the backpack was searched. And, okay. And then again, the investigation begins. On their end. Like, this is what we're dealing with.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I just read the story on Facebook. I was like, gosh, fortunately, that's all it was.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's just it's a tough situation, but just really, really grateful for the response on that, and hopefully none of our schools here locally have to deal with something like that.
Yeah.
Changing pace a little bit. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is obviously there's a huge teacher shortage. How is Thatcher doing from your perspective? Like, and what is Thatcher doing to like kind of overcome that?
Well, it is. It's really something that when I took the position, shouldn't have been a blind spot for me, but it really, really was, because I'd been on the staff. But what I didn't realize is just how many amazing teachers that we'd had at Thatcher High School that had been there for years and years were going to retire.
Yeah.
And COVID was one of those things where there were a lot of teachers. It was a scary time.
Was your first year COVID?
COVID.
Yeah,
right.
man.
Crazy.
What a time. Thrown in the ringer.
Yeah. And so, we had some teachers that were just phenomenal, and they're like, look, hey, Ryan, we love you, but we don't have to keep doing this anymore, and we're going to retire. And so, we had some master teachers that had been there, 20 plus years, that were really, just woven into the culture of our school retire. And, we've been very, very fortunate that we've been able to hire really phenomenal teachers. But the teacher shortage in Arizona it's a real issue. And, here locally, it's very, very hard because of housing, as you guys well know. It's with what teachers make. It's getting tougher and tougher to be able to live here in Graham County, and it's really a shame that it's that way. You have people with degrees, some with graduate degrees. And, they're having a hard time finding housing because of, the way that the mine's going. The trickle down from Morenci not having housing, that's a phenomenal benefit to get $750 a month to commute from Graham County up to Greenlee County. But it's getting harder and harder, and you're starting
it's squeezing
to see
everyone else out.
it's squeezing. So there's been teachers that I've hired from out of state or out of the area, and then I'm like, okay, I hope we can find you some adequate, suitable housing. And it's getting really, really hard. And also we had a great program with the ASU program. A lot of our really, really good teachers at Thatcher High School right now, and some of the teachers we had at Pima Junior High came through the ASU program. And it just kind of, after COVID, it kind of lost some momentum, and I don't know what's going on with it now. But, we were able to get people that were from our area graduated, certified, and into our schools, and that's kind of gone away. So more and more, I think you're starting to see people that maybe have a degree but haven't been through a classical teacher training, haven't been through classroom management, pedagogy, all of those things that are coming into the classroom, and it's a pretty steep learning curve. But that being said, we have been able to hire some phenomenal teachers that just come in and they give everything that they have to these kids. And, there have been some summers though, like, I'm deep into July, like, okay, what are we going to do if someone leaves late? So, it's definitely given me some gray hair, but we've never ever started a school year since I've been here, not fully staffed as far as our certified teachers, but it's getting harder and harder, and I don't know what the answer is for that, because I don't know if people are going into education for their schooling like they were a couple of generations ago, or even my generation. So it's tough, and I know every district in our area, they're looking for teachers every single year. So
is Thatcher unique to the fact that I feel like there's a lot of teachers at Thatcher that graduated from Thatcher, and which is something that I think is super cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's just a small town thing, or is Pima like that too, or is that pretty unique to Thatcher?
It's unique to Thatcher for sure. A lot of our leadership, a lot of our administrators are Thatcher products, and a lot of our teachers are as well. But yeah, in Pima, there quite a few alum that are teaching there. Some great people, that grew up around the time that I grew up, and they've been, there for a long time. And again, I know, the same thing with Safford. Mr. Jacobson's a good friend of mine. We grew up together. It's probably my first friend from Safford, coming to the area, as a teenager. Right? He's a great friend. We got kicked out of a camporee together and ended up following the railroad tracks all the way to my house.
That's hilarious.
That's how we met.
That's hilarious.
But I do think it's kind of unique, because this is such a phenomenal place to raise a family, that I think a lot of people that have left, they want to come back, and they want this for their kids. I know that's why we came back. My wife's from Round Valley, so she thinks that, Graham County's a metropolis, but but we wanted, when our kids hit school age, and there's way worse places to live than Gilbert, than the East Valley, but it was just too big for me.
Yeah.
We wanted this, but that's the other thing. If you want this for your kid, then you got to want all of it.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things that our schools do really, really well here, is we provide a really well-rounded, at Thatcher High School, a kid can be in choir if they want to, but they can also be in weight training. They can be in a lot of dual enrollment EAC classes. They can be in release time religious education if they want. We really, really hung on to that. But the bigger our school gets and the more things that we have to offer, it is really, really hard for kids, but especially parents, to realize, like, hey, you got to make some choices here. and they don't want to do that. They want to be able to do everything
Yeah.
like we did in the 80s and 90s. And, there's getting to be too many good things. So scheduling is really, really hard in our small schools.
That makes sense. One topic that we for whatever reason comes up a lot when we're talking to people is higher education. And the importance of it. Is it as important as everyone always thinks it is? I'm of the belief that it really just depends on the individual and what they want to do, but I'm not the type of person that is going to tell my kids like you have to go to college, when I feel like that's kind of changing, I guess, as time goes on. Is that's always just been the norm, like high school, college, get a job. I think that it kind of depends on what you want to do. I'm curious what your opinion on higher education is.
I think that it is evolving and changing. AI is going to be a game changer for some industries. I think you're already starting to see it, but career and technical education is huge. The trades. Two of my boys, my two oldest boys, are working as electrical interns right now, and I don't think either one of them will have bachelor's degrees by the time it's all said and done, but they do need to pursue some type of technical training, because again that shows an employer that you can finish something. And I have a lot of kids that I'm telling, like, hey, you're fighting for that piece of paper that says Thatcher High School, so some employer will take a chance on you for an entry-level job, because there might be 50 candidates and they might really, really like you, and they might really, really like another candidate, but because you have a diploma, you can sit through Algebra 2, you can sit through English, and you can do this. You're less of a risk because you finished this. But one of the greatest things that we have here is GIFT. Clay Emery runs a phenomenal program in conjunction with EAC to provide career and technical education. And, every school in our area is so strong in CTE. I mean, Safford's one of the state leaders in CTE. PM and Fort Thomas do some great things. We do some really good things with CTE as well. But, that's one thing. Eastern Arizona College is such a phenomenal value still to get a really, really strong educational foundation. But, you can see the shifts that they've made with their career and technical education, with their Fab Lab, with their things. I know that there's been partnerships, with Freeport McMoran, with EAC. I'd like to see, more of that because, again, it probably would benefit Freeport if kids went to EAC, put some skin in the game, and say, hey, you're going to go through these courses at your own expense, and then when we hire you, you're less of a risk to be like, I don't like this, I'm just going to quit. Right. Because they could put $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 into getting someone onboarded and up to speed just for them to say, I don't really like getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right. But again, if you've put your own skin in the game by going through some entry-level courses at EAC, then you go to the mine. So I think that there's some partnerships, but the traditional college experience, might not be, what it needed to be, 15, 20 years ago. And, a lot of things too with student loans and things like that. A lot of universities, they've taken that bone and they've chewed it up. Yeah. You look at the increases in tuition here in Arizona at our state universities. There's no reason for a kid to have that millstone, that financial millstone around their neck of $40,000 to $60,000. Not to slight the arts, but you're coming out with a degree in theater, which for some people there might be tremendous value there. Right. But again, if you're not going to be on Broadway, or you're not going. That's a lot of debt. So my advice to students would be, do what you can. I mean, if you're going to have to go to graduate school, chances are, you're going to incur some debt, whether it's medical, legal, something engineering, something like that. But chances are you're going to be able to make a salary where you'll be able to pay off that student loan debt. My advice to all students is to try to get, your education to where, you're not coming away with $40,000 to $60,000 for a bachelor's degree. Yeah. And that's what is scary to me, is how easy it is for kids to get those loans. Yeah. And
and not even a lot of times don't even really realize what they're doing.
Right.
You know, that's the scary part to me. I'll never say that I think that it's bad to go to college.
Sure.
I'm not of that belief by any means, but I think it's important to have a plan and to be careful with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think the worst someone can do out of high school is to not do anything. So even if you don't know what you're doing for a career yet, that's where I think college adds benefit, is it allows you to go and start getting some experiences and things like that. But yeah, I'm not of the belief of you have to go to college. I'm not of the belief of you have to go to trade school, but I think you need to do something.
Yeah. And again, it's so competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so competitive, the job market in, you know, certain areas. And, you know, I think a generational thing too is, you know, young people, like they want it all and they want it all right now. And, you know, it's a process,
mm-hmm.
and that's hard, you know, but the other thing too is, you know, I think generationally, you know, kids today, they're willing to take risks. And if they don't like something, they're completely fine with pivoting and
mm-hmm.
doing something else, which I kind of admire that. And then it kind of scares me as well. But you know, you have, you know, generations of like, hey, I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I got a pension. I'm good. And then, you know, but there's, you know, a generation now where, you know, they're going to risk it. And, you know, to try to get that biscuit, they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
That's interesting. Yeah, when I was going to college, I wasn't willing to pivot because I started down a degree path of what I thought that I wanted to do, and I thought I was getting the right degree. And I got like 3 years into it and realized that this was not the degree that I was getting when I signed up for it. Even from the very beginning, I got bad advice from a school counselor at ASU. The degree I was in was not going to set me up for what I was wanting to do. But I was 3 years into it by the time I really realized that. And I was like, well, I'm just going to finish.
Yeah.
So I wasn't willing to start over.
And the only thing I can say to that is because same exact thing happened to me is kind of like you were talking. The fact that you do have that piece of paper
Mm-hmm.
certainly helps.
Yeah.
But definitely, you know, figure out your plan first, so it'll help a little more.
It'll help, yeah. And I mean, the degree that I got definitely put me on the path that I'm on now because of the people that I met and the places I was, because, you know, so that's why I say, as long as you're not just sitting in your parents' basement doing nothing, you'll be all right. You've got to put yourself out there and have some life experience. And that's I would argue that maybe the most value that college brings is life experience.
And that's kind of what David Bell talked about when he was on is that.
Yeah.
You know, which is good.
And I think advice that I would give is talk to as many people as you can, and talk to people that are in the field that you want to be in, not just a school counselor. And maybe that's obvious advice, but as a kid, I didn't have that.
Right, same.
You know, so because I wanted to work for Game and Fish.
Yeah.
Like I love the outdoors. That's what I wanted to do. And so when I went and talked to a school counselor, they said, well, you should get a degree in Parks and Recreation Management, because not only would this work for Game and Fish, but it also work for possibly, you know, like a city, a municipality, you know, Parks and Rec department, stuff like that. You know, it was a broader degree, and which is true. But then 3 years into it, I talked to an actual game warden and told him what I was getting my degree, and he's like, "You're not going to get. They want a wildlife management degree. Like that degree that you're getting, they're not even going to look at you." And I was like, huh. Okay.
Thanks for that.
So that's what I would probably say. You know, once you're interested in, once you know what you're interested in doing and a career path that you want to take, go and talk to people that are actually doing that career, because they've done it before. They've been there. They're the ones that really know. School counselors are great, you know, for helping you with classes and stuff. But in all honesty, they're not the ones, in my opinion, the ones to talk to about a specific career. Go and talk to someone that. Yeah.
So maybe it's someone that you need to have on that's doing something phenomenal with career work is Colton Cook. He's developed. He's the counselor out of Fort Thomas High School. He's developed a whole program that we're using at Thatcher High School this year called Career Kindling. Where and the big piece of it is for students to go out and talk to people in the industry, and to kind of build a portfolio and build a skill set while they're in high school. So he's developing this program, and he's really passionate about it, and it's really, really neat. You know, because, you know, and I think back, you know, in my career, I mean, I have a degree in history, and then I got a master's in educational leadership, really, you know, at the time to just move over on the scale. I didn't have any desire to get into admin in my 20s, but you get into admin when you have kids that are in braces and car insurance, and you don't want to pick your family up and move. You start really looking at it, and then you run into I applied for some jobs here locally, and you lose out to people that have more experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do you offset that? So you don't have any admin experience, and the person that gets hired has 10 to 12 years. How do you get someone to take a chance? So for me, it was to go and get another master's degree in curriculum and instruction. So now when I know, I'm in the chair, and I know who else is applying, and I know that they have, 10 to 12 years, I can say, well, I have more education.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, the only thing I had to offset. And that's really the only thing that pushed me through, the adversity of losing out on some opportunities. Was like, okay, what am I going to do? What do I want? What am I willing to do to get it? And, I've been very fortunate that, a couple of really good superintendents here locally have taken a chance on me. And, I hope I haven't let them down. But, it is that balance of, eventually all of us need someone to take a chance on us. Mm-hmm. And then what are you going to do when you get that opportunity?
Yeah.
That's up to you. But yeah, there are some fields that are really, really competitive. But I do think more and more the brick and mortar school, I think that we're going to see some things where, we're going to need people that can work in the trades here locally, here in our country. I would never, ever discourage a kid from pursuing a career field in the trades. But, you also need to go and get that training, that certification, that paper that you have that you can fall back on, because again, things, if we go into a recession, somewhere down the line, what are you going to have that stands out over, someone else?
Yeah.
And, but yeah, we have a lot of different kids doing a lot of different things at THS, that are going on to do really, really neat things.
That's something we haven't talked about, is because THS has an online, students that are solely online now, right? Yeah. That's different from when we were at school.
Yeah. So during COVID, under the leadership of Mr. Peterson, seeing the need for an online opportunity for students, because, for some kids, they want to work, and they have maybe something medically, that's an obstacle for them. Mm-hmm. But our Eagle Online Academy, which is led by Mrs. Angie Adams, has really, really flourished over the last 6 years that I've been at Thatcher.
How many students are on?
I believe we have just right around 45 total, but we had about 20 to 25 kids graduate last year. Yeah. That were from Eagle Online Academy. And again, some of them start with us in the traditional school and then move on over there. Some of them start at EOA and then move back to us at a semester break. Some of them, and again, it's been a really, really strong thing. They get a lot of support from Mrs. Adams. We also have teachers that work with them too, like with each cohort. So those teachers receive a stipend or a contract to assist those students. And then the software program that we use and that a lot of schools use, it's called Edgenuity. They also provide certified teachers for the students to work with too. And again, it's something that's evolved and changed and grown and been highly, highly successful for a lot of kids.
That's awesome. Well,
cool.
What other questions do you have?
I think we covered it.
I gotta be the least interesting
you've
ever had on here.
Nope, not at all. No, this has been super interesting. Do you have anything that we haven't touched on that you were wanting to touch on before we end it?
No, I'm just really, really grateful for the opportunity to serve as the principal at Thatcher High School and to work for such an amazing district, and that has a lot of vision, a lot of synergy. I mean, we have a great team at Thatcher, and again, it's neat to be a part of the educational system in Graham County, to really, rub shoulders with amazing principals like Cody Barlow at Pima, Jason Stanley at Fort Thomas, and Tad Jacobson at Safford. I mean, they're great leaders, and it's just neat to see how things work here in our county, and I'm so grateful for the support that we have from our parents and our community, because it is a partnership. And, when it comes to a school and producing a high-functioning adult, the student has responsibility for themselves. The parents have a responsibility, and the school has a responsibility. And, sometimes when there's something out of line, we have to work together to support that kid. And I've been so grateful for the support that we've had at Thatcher High School. And not everything's always rainbows and unicorns. Nobody wants to see their kids struggle. But again, growth comes from struggle. And, when I go and I sit down with other administrators and school leaders in other parts of the state, other parts of the country, and I listen to the stories that they're telling, I'm so grateful to be at Thatcher High School in Thatcher, Arizona, because I think that our community is unique because our kids are great. Mm-hmm. All of our kids are great. All of our kids have tremendous potential, and all of our kids can learn. And our parents are absolutely phenomenal, and grateful for the support that we have, for the support that they have and the love that they have for their kids. And I'm grateful for a teaching staff that puts it out there for our kids every single day. Our school is great because our teachers are great. And for me, it's just, keep the train on the track and don't mess anything up, because our school is great. You can feel it when you walk into the building. It's a special place, and it's a special place because of the people that are in the building. And that goes, to our director of maintenance and facilities, Blaine Morris. He's phenomenal. Our district team, absolutely phenomenal. Cindy Rickert, Beth Green, Angie Adams. They support our teachers and our staff. And the leadership of Mr. Matt Peterson. That man bleeds green and white. He cares. There's a lot of superintendents that they want to travel and get out, and not Mr. Peterson. He wants to be in our buildings, in our schools, ensuring that the kids have positive learning outcomes and a great experience at Thatcher Schools. And I've learned so much from him. And I know I really want to thank our office staff, our ladies up front. They take a lot of strays, and they're amazing. But Ty Stewart is our athletic director. She works so hard with our coaches and with our programs to have premier athletic programs, in the 3A division in Arizona. The time, the effort, the care that she puts into our kids, our coaches, and our programs. I don't know if anyone will ever really, really know how hard she works for Thatcher and how much she loves Thatcher. So, for me, I'm really, really just grateful to be a part of it. And I hope I haven't disappointed you guys today in being here.
Yeah, this has been awesome.
Great episode. I can tell from talking to you how much you love your job, you love the kids and your staff. It's very admirable, and I think that, and we say this all the time, I think this area is kind of in our own little bubble with a lot of different things, and I think it's a good bubble to be in. I think that's why a lot of people come back. So
yeah, and again, we're grateful for that. We're grateful for people that have left and had experiences and that have come back, to share with us. And at Thatcher, our way is not the only way, but it works for us.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes that, kind of melts people a little bit and rubs them the wrong way, but we don't want to apologize for who we are.
Yeah.
We are Thatcher.
Yeah.
And again, they do great things too, but we do what works for us.
Absolutely. I think that's a good note to end it on.
All right.
So, awesome.
Let's go get some golf in.
Thanks, Ryan. All right. Let's go.
Like Gucci.